Hello beautiful community. In this week's video I'm having the Friday off, and this year I've been taking Fridays off from work and trying to spend a fair bit of time in the shed. So today I got into the shed, and of course this week it's been below 10 degrees Celsius, or what's that, 50 degrees Fahrenheit in temperature most of the week, and it's been a very bitter wind. So I've been stoking up the fire a fair bit, and it's been keeping the shed cozy and warm while I've been in there. But I've been using a fair bit of the elm wood. I've got a fair bit of the offcuts from that, and of course it leaves a lot of the ash. It doesn't burn as well as some of the other woods. The red gum burns red hot, and it doesn't leave that much ash. So I usually have to empty the ash out a fair bit with the elm. Anyway, the first job of today that I had was to check out the wood that I got the day before from John and Lynn. They were doing a renovation to their house, and they cut out some potassium plants. Anyway, they saved some of the roots for me. I think they were trying to give me a challenge, and of course when I had a look at them in the back of the ute, they certainly will be a challenge. When I had a good look at them, there's still quite a bit of dirt and stone in amongst the crevices, and John did say he gave them a wash which cleaned out a lot of them, but there's still some in there, so I'll have to grab a pressure washer from work and bring it home one day and give them a wash before I turn them. That'll be another video for another day. But I did get a small piece that was there, and I thought I'd turn it just to see what it looked like, what the wood was, what the wood colour looked like, and how it turned. And of course it was a fairly soft wood, which was nice. It's always nice to be able to turn something a bit easier. And the wood was a very light colour. So we turned it down using a roughing gouge, then got it to a size that I could fit it into a plastic jug. So once I got into the plastic jug, I mixed up some resin, and I put in a touch of blue into it, and then put it into the pressure pot to set. Once it comes out, I'll turn it into something, and of course that'll be another video for another day. So with the other bigger pieces, as I said, I'll give them a pressure wash, then I'll decide what I'm going to do with them at a later stage. After that I got into the ute and travelled out the road to my parents' place for morning tea. And I'm using my parents' ute at the moment because my car has done a cylinder head. I've got no idea about cars, I only know what colour mine is, and I was told it was a cylinder head, so been in the mechanics for a week or so. Hope I get it back later next week. So I travelled out to the folks, they're not too far out, they're on a farm out the road. And then coming back into town, we stopped at the butcher shop to get the week's supply of meat. And I always go to Peter to get the meat. It's much better flavour and it's much better meat than the big supermarkets. Wouldn't go anywhere else. But the local butcher, Peter, he's always good for a chat. Peter, how you going? Yeah, good, thanks. Good. Well.
Yeah, shed today.
Yeah, I've got it warm.
Making plenty of mistakes, keep it warm.
Yeah, I've got the fire going, so I'll be back there shortly.
Yes.
Yeah. So I finally got back into the shed, and I got a delivery the day before from Pop Shed. It's a wood store just out of Melbourne, and they had some juttalong wood, which is ideal for carving, and it's similar to basswood. It's fairly light, and I've used it once before. I liked it, and I haven't been able to get any since then. I haven't seen any for sale, and it come up on their website that they had some blocks for sale. So I grabbed a couple of blocks, and I also got a Banksy pod. I've never done a Banksy pod before, and I've never wanted to spend the money to buy a Banksy pod, but anyway, I lashed out. So I purchased those, had a look, and I thought I would turn one of the Banksy pods and see how they turned out. And I cut it in half, and the first one took a fair while to do. I wasn't sure what I was doing. I wanted to make one of those aroma pods that you put the oils, such as eucalyptus oil, into that hole, and it gives you a smelling sensation. So I did the first one, it came out quite nicely, put a top on it, and then I turned the second one, tried to do something a little bit different, and that didn't take too long to turn. They come out quite nicely, and I've put some eucalyptus oil in both of them, and they certainly work a treat. So the Banksy pods were the only project that I finished for the day. I was doing a few other things, but this was the only project I finished, and so I'll show you some photos at the end of the video. by now it was mid-afternoon, so I made myself another cup of coffee and we sat beside the fire. It was still freezing cold and started whittling a piece of the jutlong wood. And because I'm fairly cheap, I got one of the blocks and I cut it on the bandsaw into 8 smaller pieces. And the pieces are about 40 millimeters by 40 millimeters in diameter, and they're about 100 millimeters long. And so I do small caricatures. I had a project in mind, so I sat beside the fire and started whittling. Most of my carvings I use hewn pine. The hewn pine I get from Tasmania, and it's a beautiful wood. It's not as soft as the basswood or the jutlong, but it certainly keeps the detail. And I really love the hewn pine. So with the whittling in front of the fire, all of a sudden I get a text and it's tea time. So that was the day in the shed. I did spend a fair bit of time in the shed and got a bit done. So I'm planning next Friday already. I've got quite a few projects that I want to do, and I've got a couple of new ones that I'd like to try out. So I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this video. I'll see you next time. Cheerio.